So
Oh
back.
boy. Welcome back to Soundwaves from the Sea. It is it sounds long. It's a two-man game today because Owen cannot join us. Owen and I have had some crazy schedules. Mike has been like, please show. When we do the show. Um yeah, I was just looking and we did our preseason superlatives and the preseason episode where we're like, hey, will Jordy get traded? And then now he's a Colorado Rapid. Um yeah, the Sounders, they're still active in MLS play. They've bowed out of CONCACAF Champions Cup play despite a win in the second leg. That was pretty entertaining. There's the away goal, of course. We'll get to that. Uh, kind of look at the injuries and where they stand. There's some stuff today that was kind of concerning to both of us, but we will look at that. The injury list is getting a bit shorter than where it was a little bit ago, but the Sounders find themselves in pretty good spot in MLS play. They're 5-1-1 on the season. They've been posting about Mike I think their unbeaten streak against FC Dallas, or their all-time record against them, and I'm like, damn, we're really laying this on the line here.
This is
Uh,
2011. That is wild.
God, it's pretty crazy. Uh, um, yeah, through 7 matches in MLS play, the Sounders are 5-1-1. They find themselves currently fifth in the Western Conference, as San Jose leads the way. And San Jose's one loss in the season comes against Seattle, which is pretty fun. Um, Seattle's 5 points behind Vancouver for second, 8 points behind San Jose for first. Um, and they're not too far out of the supporter shield. There's seven in the supporter shield, so 8 points behind Vancouver. Um, yeah, no, I don't think it's surprising that they're in this current spot. Like, I think the San Jose match was a lot of fun for them to get that result. But I think a bunch of these other ones make sense, at least to me. But we'll certainly look at it. So, Mike, I guess we'll ask you first of all, where are you at with how the Sounders have looked through MLS play, to this point? I think the one loss is the RSL loss, and that's not too great, but you've got a draw on the road. Um, yes, on the road against Minnesota. We know how Minnesota is, even if they look a little different this year. Um, as I mentioned, the result against San Jose, you take care of business against St. Louis the other night. A nice road win against Houston. Like, I don't know. Where are you at with the Sounders team in MLS play through 7 matches?
Yeah, it's been a grind. That's for sure. I mean, they spent almost the entire time on the road. And obviously, I had to take that into account. Like the team will play a lot different on the road than they are at home. And even despite the attacking play kind of being mostly non-existent for the first 7 matches, this team is still finding a way to win games. The defense has been stellar. Nuhu is putting together a honestly player of the season type performance so far this year, I believe, honestly. And you got Captain Christian rolled on as our leading goal scorer. Like the narratives are there. I think
Hmm.
everything's going great, and I'm sure they'll keep this momentum going.
I want to have you expand on the Nuhu thing because I don't remember what match it was or what it was, but someone was talking. I was watching something about Nuhu, and they were saying that Nuhu. They were talking about Nuhu, and they're like, "Oh, he's been in the league for however many years, and he's had interest overseas, whatever." But they're like, his one problem is he only has, the one goal or whatever in MLS play. And they shouted his assists, and I was like, do I really care that much about that? Like, considering I know Nuhu, comes up the wing a lot, right? But I'm not expecting a ton of goal involvement from him. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about that? And can you expand more on what you've seen from Nuhu so far this season to give him sort of that recognition that you're mentioning?
Obviously, his offensive play isn't nothing to write home about. Everybody knows that he's not the best left wing back we've had. I mean, Rebaker Whiting was better attacking, but when it comes to pure defending, Nuhu is the best player on this team. Like, there's not he is the best 1v1 defender in this league. There's not very many wingers that can get past him, and I think he last year he had his discipline issues, and It was well recorded on every outlet you can possibly think of, and he has really turned it around this year. And I really think that him captaining his country at AFCON really put things into perspective for him, and he's changed a lot. He's matured a lot this season, which is not something we've seen in the last like 8 years he's been on this team.
Well, and if I remember correctly, this offseason he did get an extension. Um, I remember, I don't know if, did I tell that story on the show? I think I did, where I saw him in Tukwila. I was headed to rain training, and I see Nuhu in his nice fancy car next to me while the club was in, I think they were in, where were they
Marbella.
before? Yeah. And I was like,
Yeah.
shouldn't, hello? Like, I know he's coming from AFCON. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's just interesting to think about the different, like, things about that. I understand he's a wing back, and typically you will expect some production in that regard, but I was just like, why are we ragging on this guy when, yeah, he's your best defender? Like, I think we can, maybe we can calm down here. I think he's fine.
Yeah, he's a
Um,
left back, but also like he mostly plays center back for his nation. Like that is his position. He's like a left
right.
center back, like a left sided center back. So like I think people should maybe cool it with the whole like, oh, his offensive production is shit. We need to sign a new left wing or left back. Like, come on, get real.
I'll never forget the reaction when he did score. Like,
Everybody in the press box screaming like,
yeah,
yeah.
which is not a normal thing for those who are not aware. That is a very yeah, that is something I'll always remember. Has anything surprised you about this start for Seattle? Like, it is funny to look at this and like I'm looking at the fixture sheet and it does have the CCC matchups in here, which you're funny enough, you're scoring better in the CCC matchups than the MLS regular season. But like, it's a good point that you bring up the road stuff because it's been a weird season with both of the soccer teams in the city, like them playing away from Lumen, like, I'm so used to like being with you in the press box and we get to talk about it. We've been away because they've been away. Like I don't think you went to Spokane. I didn't go to Spokane. It's been a bit odd, but they've been really good at that. I mean, the one game they get at Lumen, they get the 2-1 2-0 victory against Colorado. You go on the road, you drop that tough one to RSL, which it just always seems to be RSL, right? Like RSL on the road.
We don't win against Arsenal.
The road they grind out the one on the road against St. Louis because I forgot they've already played St. Louis twice at this point. You grind out that one in San Jose. You take the draw in Minnesota. It's fine. You grind it out against Houston, um, and then you kind of shellac St. Louis in this final one on a really fun one. I mean, two identical Christian Roldan goals. How do you not like as someone who did play a little bit of a defender? Like, how do you not mark the guy
Yeah, in the
the
same
first time,
spot.
let alone the second time in the exact same spot, and then the second time he decided instead of the header, I'm gonna let this come to my feet. Um, yeah, I don't know. Does anything surprise you about this start? Because like I figure, as we talked about off camera, right? Like when you've got this group of players, and Brian Schmetzer talks about the culture, and we kind of see that, right? Like you always figure you're gonna be in some position, some playoff position, right? It's just about if you can, reach the levels, of getting to MLS Cup, of winning that trophy, etc. Um, that's I think the question. But I mean, when you start off with points and 6 or 7 to begin the year, uh, I think you're happy with that, right? Like, and we'll get to the injury report, but you're without some key players, So I don't know. Has anything surprised you? Does this start make sense to you?
This start does make sense. I think because of the offseason moves that Sounders made, like re-signing Paul Rothrock, Nuhu, Musovski, these extensions, you're you're trusting those players to come back and do the work again. And I think that yeah, the attacking output, like I said before, is nowhere near as good as it was last year. Like even the attacking patterns and the line of confrontation is a lot further back than it was last year, but they have brought back that defensive solidity, which is part of the Sounders culture. And I
Right.
think bringing it back to those basics, I think that is what is kind of surprise. It's not surprising to me. It was a welcome surprise after last season, considering
Yeah.
how many defensive woes we had.
Yeah. That's some I think I talked about because I got so used to my brain always goes back to the start they had in 2021, right? When it was Steph Cleveland had to step in and they had that run of I think unbeaten stretch. He played really
13.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, you know, but yeah, no, and well, and then that's a great point because we've already talked about New who bring up the defense here. Without Yamar, which we will talk about, but you've had what was the back line? This they didn't have Jackson Reagan against St. Louis, but you made sure it wasn't anything crazy. I know you went over and talked, and it was just a rest and rotation sort of thing, right? And when you've got a
Yeah.
guy like Jackson Reagan, you're already back banged up on the back line. I don't think you want to mess with that. It worked out fine, right? But you've got what was the back line actually? Hold on.
It was Nuhu on the left, Tino Lopez as your left center back, Alex
Oh,
Roldan
yep.
as your right center back, and
Thank
then
you.
Costa Rienzi on the right.
Yes, that's right. Okay, I remember that Tino and Alex were your center backs. I had forgotten about my Kalani Costa Rienzi agenda. I forgot about that. Um, yeah, I mean, what do you like? Pino Lopez has now signed a first team contract. He's filled in really well. I don't think there's anything that's really surprised. I don't know how often I've ever been like really disappointed with his play. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and
Honestly, he's
you,
been a standout every time he stepped on the pitch.
which is crazy,
Like,
right? Like Schmetzer even said he's not like pushing Jackson or Yamar in the last post game, right? But he's certainly going to make it a hard decision,
mhm.
right? And it's important to have that depth. Do you have more on Tino?
Just that he is a very welcome surprise. That is the surprise of the season, I think, honestly, because
Yeah.
I haven't heard much of him going into the season. I know like I don't follow like Ballard or like the Defiance all that much. I probably should. My responsibility on that, but seeing him pair with Jackson, how well they play together with that kind of big man, kind of short man, and his
Mm.
ability on the ball is incredibly underrated. Everyone talks about Jackson Reagan's ability to move the ball around, especially from the back, but Tino Lopez can do it just as good, or almost just as good, which is surprising for a player who had zero first team experience going into this.
Yeah. No, that's a good point because I think in that St. Louis match, his passing percentage was pretty good. That was something that Schmetz was asked about, actually, I think, if I remember correctly. So that's a good point. Um, yeah, no, didn't I can tell you, like I hear a good amount of like the Defiance guys, but none of them stick too often. Yeah, you mentioned the Ballard, like I'll see the USL League Two guys come through, which is always really cool. Like Peter Kingston, who has also signed a first team contract. Uh, it was a great point that was made is he's kind of had every step of every a lot of steps of Seattle pro soccer, right? With he was at Seattle U, he transferred to UW, he played Ballard FC. He spent some time with Defiance. Like this guy is just kind of all over the Seattle soccer scene, which is really cool. Which is really cool. I know that's been pretty decently documented already. Um, yeah, no, it's kind of funny to look at this like back line as you see Nuhu, Lopez, Alex Roldan, and Kalani. Like if you showed anybody that 3 years ago, they might freak the hell out and wonder what happened. Like I know it's not
I'd
this
be losing my mind if I saw that 3 years ago. I'd be like, what the hell
right.
is happening?
What's going on? Obviously that's not probably how things will look maybe down the stretch, when you're fully healthy, hopefully, right? But it's been kind of fun to see that. Um, I guess one thing I saw, Snyder Brunell talked today after training and was asked by Jeremiah with Sounder at Heart about um kind of the center mids. I think the defensive center mids. Like I don't think, at least to me, Albert's performance so far to begin the season is not surprising. I've always been on the Albert
Team Albert.
team Albert, the man with the stupid Among Us tattoo on his kneecap. It's just crazy, right? Because he's such a like important part of this team, and then you see that, and you're like, what a guy. But like, I know Hassani's dealt with some stuff, right? There's some stuff out of his control, but he's not typically been the guy. It was interesting coming into camp, wondering if maybe this is like a reclamation year, right? After some frustrations for him in Minnesota. Again, it is 7 matches, but like it does seem as though there's a different sort of thought, uh, you know, currently about how they're handling that pivot, right? What have you thought about that? Whether it's, maybe Hassani not getting the minutes, how they're, I know, well, funny enough, I know Hassani did start their last game. Um, but I don't know, just what have you seen from that spot? Because Christian, I mean, I don't expect a ton of goal contributions from Christian, but he had the brace last game, and he's going to be important to their run this year again. So yeah, what are you seeing from the pivot and maybe how they'll handle that going forward?
I think Hassani is struggling to really fit into this team, fit into the system. He is a very good ball progressor, just like how Obed was, very good like box crasher. But I think Snyder Brunel, it's his spot. It should be his spot to lose, to be honest. Snyder Brunel really complements Christian Roldan really well in his build-up play with whether it's Kalani or Alex Roldan or whoever else is on the right. Like I think him and the way he's able to move on the ball and off the ball, I think is so much better than what Hassani has delivered so far. Again, and like you said, it's only 7 games into the season. What we Hassani does have a a longer pedigree, I guess, within MLS. So they know everybody knows how he can play. It's just if he can actually bring it at this stage in his career.
Yeah,
And I
and
think also it doesn't help that like we were so blessed with Obed Vargas for so
yeah,
long, and now we're having to compare a player who is not as good as Obed Vargas. Let's make that clear. Hassani Dodson is not as good as Obed Vargas was, even in his debut in the Champions League final. But I think we should give a little more grace to Hassani.
for
Like,
sure.
I
Yeah,
know, I know I said like the standard Brunel should be the starter, but like Hassani, he can prove himself. He's just not doing it right now.
yeah. No, that's fair. And he was dealing with the concussion, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Um, that's certainly a factor, and like across sports, right? You never know with concussions, like the symptoms can last for a while. So you hope it's not that, right? Like covering the torrent over in women's hockey, there was their first round pick. She dealt with some stuff earlier on. She suffered a concussion, and she's never, game speed wise, has never looked the same as the player that they drafted, since then. And you have to think it's part of that, like which is tough. So I hope it's not something like that with him.
Mhm.
Um,
And you
but
see what kind of decision making that he's doing too. Like some of the passes that he's doing the pass back, and it's like, why, why would you do that? Like, why are you so
yeah,
slow to react to that? Like, it's really
right,
sad, but like, and I don't know if like the Sounders like training staff are evaluating that, if they've seen that, or if it's just like maybe he's just in his own head. I don't know.
that yeah, no, 100%. So well, it is interesting, and I'm curious what you thought about them having Snyder out on the out on the wing to get
I hated
as
that so much.
because it's been interesting following along on the internet. There's a lot going on recently in the city, so I keep an eye on it. Like I talked to Nico Moreno about the thing with oh yeah, we haven't even talked about that. The thing with Obed and the not they're not letting him do the call ups. I talked to Nico about that. I was like, hey man, so what is this? Like what is all this nonsense going on? But Nico's been kind of tracking how they've deployed Jesus Ferreira, who has had a pretty solid start to the year in his own right, right? And so I don't understand, you know, considering Jackson Reagan was out for rest and rotation in this one, it is St. Louis. Um, I understand them maybe not saying, all right, we don't need the like first choice group, all out there, right? But like it was kind of interesting to see Hassani back in and you bump Snyder out there to the right. And then Jesus comes on. Jesus did come on pretty quick in the second half in the 53rd, but Yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious what you thought about that because I mean he at least he graded well numbers wise. It says he got
Yeah,
7.5 here, but obviously I don't think that's what you want to do if you're doing like first choice.
yeah. It's reminding me of Christian Roldan before last season, where he's kind of being deployed where he's needed and he's being played out of position. He looks decent because he's a good player, but like he still thrives in the middle. And I think when it comes to Jesus Ferreira, I think it. I know Schmetz has said it's not like a games management issue, so I just don't understand like why you're allowing your best creator on the right to just sit on the bench and come off, whether it's in Champions League play or league play. I feel like you this stage in the season now, you have to get the rhythm going with your best 11. Yeah, yes, rotation is
Mm,
important, but like you have players like Paul Rothberg, Albert Rusnak, Jesus Ferreira, who played that in that front three with whoever you want up top. Like, just play your best players in their best positions. Like, I don't want to see Snyder Burnell on the right again. I don't want to see Albert Rusnak playing as a number eight.
no.
We have the players, just use them.
Yeah. Well, so kind of in talking about having the players, I do want to ask, do you want to bring this up now? You talked about the winger depth because you know, it is funny because it's one of the things, the last things we did on the show, talked about Georgie potentially getting traded. Georgie was traded. Um, it was tough. He did an interview. He said he felt bad he didn't really get to say goodbye to Seattle and the fans, and they have to come here again, right? Not again.
Um,
Oh, wait, they did come
no,
here. That's right.
yeah, they already came here.
No?
Yeah, they've not come here
Ah,
again. No, this is playoffs.
that's tough. Yeah. So your return is either going to be playoffs or next year, huh? Man, that's tough. Okay. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like that people there's some people who are still like who watch every Rapids game in hopes to see him and then they post it like, "Oh, this is why you shouldn't have got rid of him." Like one, that's interesting. You know, do what you want in your own time. But also, I don't necessarily blame those people. I like the creativity that Georgia would bring. He was a great guy. Seemed like a great guy, right? You wanted to talk about the winger depth though, so I want to bring that to
Yes.
you. What are you thinking here? Because as we'll talk about with the injury, you will get some reinforcements. We're gonna use those words instead of other words that we joked about. Um, but that's after the World Cup,
Yeah.
so there's a good amount of time before that truly happens, and there's no guarantee how much said reinforcements can hit the ground running, so to say. Right? You might need some time to find form. So I do want to open this up to you because Michael did say he wanted to talk about winger depth. So I want to open that up and give you the floor in that regard.
It's something I've been trying to talk about a little bit on what's on Twitter or like talking like in the press box with you or Cal. It's like I feel like our only winger options, realistically, like actual true wingers, are Paul Rothberg and Paul Arriola. On
Hmm.
the Sounders roster, it's only that it is. I mean, it should be Jordan Morris because he plays better on the right and cutting in and opening in that space up, but that's a different conversation for another day. But I just feel like you only have two wingers. Why would you not adjust your style of play a little bit or adjust the formation? I know Schmetz has stuck with the 4-2-3-1 and he will not change it. We tried changing it last year for a second, it didn't work, and we went back to the 4-2-3-1. But like you don't have wingers for that formation anymore. And we've seen there's it's been proven that having Danny Musowski and Jordan Morris up top together does work. So I feel like until we get that winger depth, until Pedro comes back, until the summer transfer window opens up, I feel like the Sounders should be utilizing the players a little differently. I mean, I'm not a tactician. This isn't FIFA, but like, I
No, that's
just feel like I just feel like there is a better way to utilize these players and still like have that width too.
yeah, that's fair. And it'll be interesting to see how they kind of ping that around as the year goes on, like to see the number of different lineups that this club will deploy by the end of the year, right? I always get a kick out of seeing that number. Um, you mentioned the Musovski pairing, like uh he didn't come on. No, he started this past match.
He
That's
started,
why
yeah.
he didn't come on. I forgot what match was it. Was it the oh it was the Tigres match actually with CONCACAF Champions Cup. I guess that can be a sort of transition point unless you have anything else you want to talk about MLS wise before we move forward.
Oh, just that the big thing that from especially from the weekend that I would love to see going forward is seeing that triangle of Jesus Ferreira, Danny Musovski, and Jordan Morris. Weirdly enough, I think they're as soon as Jordan Morris and Jesus Ferreira came on in this last game, Danny Musovski came alive. He was like a brand new player. The way the three of them were their interplayed together, the way they're all three of them were moving, I just feel like hopefully the Sounders, Schmetz and the rest of the Sounders staff see that and like, oh, let's try you do that a little more. Or maybe I'm just crazy and maybe it doesn't work, but like just a small sample size that I saw, I feel like I want to see more of
Mm.
that.
I don't know. It could be the start of something. Well, I did want to mention that because I thought it was really funny that Danny came on in that Tigres match when, Seattle obviously needed more goals because they'd given up the away goal, and he scored almost instantly. And I was just like, hey, man, like, we're doing the bit again here. You know what I mean? It has been interesting. It feels like the last few matches they have, well, I mean, this match obviously against St. Louis, they did start him up top. Um, yeah, it's just interesting to me that we're kind of playing this bit where we're running around and it's like you're not gonna start Danny up there and then Moose will come on and will score and I'm like, all right, like do, is it truly a situation where you think this is just good for you in small bursts where you come on and you you score and that's all you need, or can you do this? I don't know. I guess with that though, I mean, I was talking about you know kind of the lay of the land, right? And where teams are. Vancouver, atop I almost said Commissioner's Cup. Nope, I'm getting my teams and my leagues mixed up here. Atop the Shield, um, and you're 8 points behind them. But, and I know it's different competition. Oh, wait, no, sorry, they're not. San Jose is. I got the Blues mixed up. Um, I know it's a different competition, but you handled them pretty well in CONCACAF Champions Cup play. Like you kind of slapped them around a bit up in Vancouver, that 3-0 result, um, which I wasn't expecting. Um, and then even back home you didn't really slap around. 2-1's not slapping around.
But still a
Paul
dominant enough
Ariel,
performance.
right? So you handle business in the round of 16, but then you battle it out on the road in Tigres. Like this was so tough because I thought maybe you'd be able to hold on for a bit. The first half you were kind of surviving. You gave up the penalty, and then they sky it. But 51st minute goal and then that one late, that really felt like a dagger. Like one goal, like they can handle, right? You can handle coming back from that. But the two is kind of rough.
Yeah.
So you know you win 3-1 in the second leg of what, the quarterfinals? Yes. But obviously the away goal gives Tigres the advantage. They move on. Seattle's
So
done in this
stupid.
competition. It is the big 2026. You think we'd move on from that?
I mean, every
Um,
other competition has gotten rid of it. Why can't we? Like,
that's another thing I can complain about with Champions Cup, but I like to still be credentialed for it, so we're not gonna do that. I don't know. What did
play
you
nice
think
for now.
about this? What did you think about the run in this competition? Because what, they're going to be in three competitions. At the beginning of the year, there were three competitions. It's CONCACAF Champions Cup, MLS play, obviously, and then Leagues Cup doesn't start till August, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a little
so
later this year.
what did you think about the run in this? Because obviously it's a different competition, so some folks might just wash it away. But playing Vancouver the way that you did, the Whitecaps are obviously a very different Whitecaps team than years past, right? There's a situation with them, and if you'd like, I'd be happy for you to talk about that. Um, but I don't know. What did you, to kind of, similar to how we talked about MLS play, what did you think about this run in Champions Cup? Great to see Paul Arriola go off in the first leg of that round of 16. Want to see him come back. Paul Rothrock did his thing. And then, oh yeah, in the Spokane game, right? The second leg, I think Paul, yeah.
And
So,
Musovski got another goal too. Like he scored 2 goals in the Champions League. Like I feel like with this Champions League campaign, the Sounders they looked good. Like compared to last season, I thought the Sounders looked a lot better in this competition. Um, and I think that all it took was just poor planning in that first leg of Tigres. I think Smash didn't get the personnel right. I think sitting back in Mexico, I think did the team dirty. And then because you see like a whole full flip flop in the second leg at home, like yeah, you're playing at home, like it's a lot different. You're back at Lumen, but I feel like if Schmetz would just tweaked it a little bit and had Jesus Ferreira starting in that match away in Mexico, I feel like this game could have been a lot different, and we would be talking about the Sounders playing against what was it Toluca in this next round.
oh Jesus, God. Um, yeah, no, I'd agree with that. It's that first leg, man. It's just like, it was funny because there had been so much talk about, I forgot the word that Paul Arriola used, um, but sort of like that mystique of playing down in Mexico, right? Um, Playing against these Liga MX teams. Um, and I thought they held on. I'm using the words hold on specifically because they did have to hold on for that first half,
Mhm.
and then just really unfortunate to give up the second one. They didn't generate a whole ton, but and even the ones they did, it's like you really got to bury that. But yeah, I'd say what, three of the four matches you played in that competition, you look pretty good,
Mhm. And you look at the
right?
dominant team, like you could have been a favorite had
Right.
not been for that one. And that was just
So
game
that's
planning.
tough. That's that's tough, and you'll need to learn from it, right?
Hmm.
So don't worry, they'll just defend their trophy in Leagues Cup. You know, there
Okay.
you go. Win a different cup. Um, all right. So we got regular season out of the way. Champions Cup. Oh boy, you get to go to the lovely injury corner. How fun. Um, Someone I wasn't too sure on. I'll lead the way with Nikola Pekovic. I wasn't sure what he was going to give you personally. I had no idea. I was like, I don't know. Obviously rotation throughout the year will happen, but I didn't know what you'd give. He looked great, when you saw him, which is really unfortunate because it feels like he was getting this momentum. You're like, oh, this is great. He's on loan, but maybe you'll figure it out, right? And then in training, he suffers an injury. He's out for the season, which is a really tough break, right? Because I think like, in some of the interviews I'd seen him do, whether it was scrums or whatever, he had been happy coming here. Um, but it's really difficult. Terry ACL in training, you're likely out for the year. I'd be shocked if not, right? It seemed like he had kind of started to find a place in the rotation. Torn right ACL, yeah, especially in training, right? It doesn't make it any easier if it was in a match, but
But like knowing it's
that's
happening in training, it's like, ooh,
yeah, it's tough because he's younger, right?
yeah, that 21 or 22, I think, is what he is.
Really? Jesus, it must be the facial hair. Um, 23.
23, okay, still
Um,
baby, still baby.
oh yeah. But so it's difficult, right? Because, obviously the factors in it, playing well, something the injury training, but now you've only got him on loan until the end of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how that works its way out. Um,
If you were Craig Weibel, how would you handle this? Like, how would you want to keep him on, like, send him on for the future from Charlotte, or do you think you let him go early, kind of open up that U22 spot? So I mean, he's already on
ooh,
the season injury list, but like he comes back from injury, you sign him on, and that's all your 22 spots are used up.
that's a good point. Well, yeah, and they've been talking about wanting to fill that spot for a while. Right? They've
Yeah.
been flirting with the U22 spot. Um, I don't know. It's tough. At least maybe it's I don't know, it seems to come to mind to maybe kind of like wait it out because ACLs are tough, man. You like it takes a lot to get back from them, and there's no guarantee. What we were seeing, is that he could come back and replicate it, right? Um, and hate to be ruthless in the business side of things, but like you've had such a good track record with your academy as well. Like I don't know, there's a lot of factors in that regard. See, I hate to be the man that's like, oh, I don't know, here's this and this and this. Why not give you a straight answer? Do you have a thought on what you would do?
I mean, for up to me, I would have signed him after those couple appearances to a full time deal. I just liked what he brought, but like he's on loan, he's out for the rest of the year. I think from a business standpoint, you kind of have to cut your losses. Maybe use that spot on Snyder Brunel, lock him down because he's only going to get better. He's only going to go to these youth World Cups and gain more traction. And I think you use that other U22 spot on someone else in the league. I
So it
think that'd
was
be ideal.
interesting.
But
Um, I do think he'll end up here. I do think because he, I was looking back at some of the media stuff he'd done. He wasn't like outwardly disrespectful, but he was made it pretty clear he was not happy with how things had gone in Charlotte. He said it's more enjoyable here. I'm happy here. I think this is a much better environment for me. Without saying fuck those guys, that's fuck those guys,
yeah,
right?
I mean, they did them
Um,
dirty. Like you pay like what 2 or 3 million for the kid, and then you drop him down to your second team and never use him in your first team when you could use a midfield of that profile in your first team. Like, what, Charlotte? What are we doing?
I don't know if they know what they're doing. Um, like, yeah, I'm sure, especially because it seems clear that he wouldn't want to return there. They will figure something out. Um, I am just curious as you were kind of talking about what that ends up being, considering, you know, other things that uh-oh, oh, we still might want to do going forward, whether it's, as guys, get older or, I would assume they're looking at other things, outside names, but I don't remember the last real time that I mean, what, Pedro was your last big splash?
Yeah,
So
he's
I
the
don't
only
know.
one in the last like 6 years.
Right. So yeah, we'll see about that. So that's Pekovic. He's likely
They
out
have
for
the
this.
GAM for it, so you never know what they'll
It's
do.
just sitting there collecting fucking dust at this point. I'm using three bad words in a short span. Um, don't look at the defenders. Yamar, we were talking about this is out till late May, so it likely means he'll be out till after the World Cup, right? Um, excuse me, Kim Ki-hee, same sort of thing, same sort of situation. So there's two center backs, excuse me, that you're going to be without, and then another defender, in Ryan Saylor. It just says early May, for him. But I think a little bit ago there had been no clear timeline on him, so that could be just a hopeful thing.
Yes, I feel like he had a setback in training, is
Well,
why it keeps getting extended out.
not good. Don't worry, Tino Lopez will save us.
And Cody Baker, put
Hey,
him,
my
put
agenda.
him, put him at center back. Do it,
Oh, Jesus.
do it, you
Talk about
cowards.
tall man, short man. Just put Tino and Cody Baker back there. I'm sure that would go over really well.
Honestly, I'd love that. Full
It would
send.
fit my agenda. I don't know how well it would do results wise. I mean, maybe if you're playing St. Louis again, you could just roll that out and we'd be fine. And then Pedro de la Vega, I think after the World Cup. So you've got at least three guys who will come back after the World Cup for you. And then they're like a new signing, Michael. They're like a new signing.
Every Sounders
Um,
fan's favorite phrase.
hmm Yeah, no, it's wonderful, isn't it? Certainly don't see any angry comments about that, which is fair. I get it. I wonder about it too. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I know you mentioned, when Pedro gets back, it kind of helps your winger depth there. it'll just be interesting, it's tough, right? Because, we've seen what he can do when he's healthy. And he's young. So you've got to think that the extended injuries weigh on a guy mentally. Um, I do wonder what it will look like for him. And I don't think that's an unfair question. I think it's difficult, but I do wonder. Do you have any thoughts on whether it is Pedro or someone like Yamar or any of these guys that because we obviously talked about Nicola, but any of the guys who are, on the injured list currently?
I think Gamer will bounce back. He's proven like even when he's had his injury problems, he's had hamstrings, quad injuries, and he always bounces back and is still one of our best defenders, especially paired with Jackson Reagan. When it comes to Pedro, I'm I feel like the past like 3 years we've had him, I get more and more concerned with his injury record. Like I know everyone likes to shit on Craig for making the signing in the first place, but I fear with this other knee injury that he's going to lose that change of pace
Mm,
that he brings to that team. He is. I just don't know if he's gonna until it's proven. I don't know if he's gonna have the it factor anymore, and that makes me sad because I really like Pedro de la Vega, and I think he's probably one of the most talented players on this roster. But with this many injuries, it's just hard to justify that DP tag and
right.
have those DP expectations.
Yeah. No, that's what exactly what I'm worried about is something like that and how you come back. You know what I mean? And then the expectations exactly. Exactly right. Exactly right, my friend. Um, hmm. Okay. So that's the injuries. We talked about the winger depth, talked about CONCACAF Champions Cup. Kind of rolled right along here. Uh, well, I guess let's look ahead. They've got FC Dallas coming up, as I mentioned. I should find that exactly, actually, so I can actually properly reference it instead of just being like, "Oh yeah, the Sounders posted a graphic." Um,
FC Dallas at 7:30 p.m. this upcoming Saturday.
it's so late.
No.
Well, not as late as 8:30 the other day. Whew, okay. Yes, but the longest there it is. Home unbeaten streak on MLS history versus a single opponent from 2012 until present day. 21 matches at home against FC Dallas unbeaten. Kind of crazy. Um,
And FC Dallas is a decent team this year.
yeah, what have you Dallas is eighth in the West currently. Um,
They've only lost twice.
oh,
And that
yeah.
was to 1-0 to LAFC, and they lost this weekend 1-0 to Minnesota. And Pektar Musa is balling out in the lead for the Golden Boot already. I think like 6 goals, 6 or 7 goals, something like that. Let me double check. The team is good, and depending if Jackson Reagan is good enough to start with Tina Lopez, I would fear for how he goes up against them, especially now with Santi Moreno and Logan Farrington coming at them. 9 goals. 9 goals for Pekar Musa this season
Jesus
already.
Christ. Okay, that's a goal a game pace. That's kind of crazy. Um, hmm. Okay. Well, with that being said, and you kind of touch on it, like, is there anything, I guess, in the like, and I guess we've kind of touched on it with winger depth, but it could be beyond that. Is there anything that particularly, like, any current slash present worries for this club? Is there anything you're like, hey, I need you to address this right now? Like, I need to figure it out. Or maybe it's a long term. Like, hey, long term, before we get to like a postseason stretch, like you'll need to develop this, but it isn't something you're going to worry about in this next like stretch of 5 games. Either way, is there something in the near future you're worried about, or is there anything you want, like you're seeing that might be a growing trend down the stretch that you're concerned about?
The number 9 spot. I think the Sounders need to lock down the number 9. Whether they want to put the trust in Musovsky, put Jordan Morris back up there, and give Osaze another chance, which I think he still needs to earn it despite scoring a goal this last weekend. I think if you can lock down your starting number 9 and not just rotate guys based on current form, I think you'll have more cohesion in the attack, which is kind of something we've been talking about since last season. Even with Daniel Saucy scoring 18 goals last year, there wasn't enough consistency in the attack. You have that focal point, you use that, you build around that. I think everything else from the midfield to the defense is perfectly fine. They're consistent, they're always good. But until you get that attack going, I mean, with the Sounders are the 4th or 5th lowest scoring team in the league right now.
Mm-hmm. God, that's crazy, isn't it? Jesus.
So I think they do that. That's my only concern for the long term, is locking down that starting number 9. Like, make a decision, stick with it, and just write it out. That's how it should be. But
Yeah, it's crazy looking at the top 6 teams in the West. All of them but 2 have scored 16 or more goals so far this year. Uh, Seattle's one of them. Do you know the other one?
sorry, that phone just fell.
Uh, the oh yeah, the top 6 teams in the West have all scored 16 or more goals. There are 2 that haven't. Do you know the other one besides Seattle?
Minnesota United. We're in the
Yeah.
same league as Minnesota United,
Yep.
which is
That
wild.
that's how, and that's crazy because even under them, like Colorado scored 21 goals so far this season. And they're in 7th.
The Timbers have scored more goals than us.
That's gross. Hey, it's by 1.
That hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. No, it's a good point. Like I remember I was pretty high on Osaze coming into the season. It is game 7. We're 7 games in is a better way to put it. So I'm not totally concerned. But no, I think that's a good point. It's got to figure it out. What do you mean? What do you mean, Michael? The Sounders decide truly what they want to do up there?
Never.
Come on, buddy, come on.
Without Rui Diaz?
Oh God. Where is Raul right now?
He's playing in the Peruvian 2nd division.
2 goals. 2 goals in 10 matches.
He's on track with the rest of our strikers, so it makes sense.
Oh, Jesus. Well, I don't know how I feel if that's how we're closing out the episode. That's the way to shut the door. All right. Well, yeah, that'll do it. We're doing our best. We're doing our best. It's been tough, trying to get it all scheduled, but trying to get these going again, and especially, yeah, with how good, the club's been doing, and I know I kept talking about how they're 5th in the West. They're 5th in the West with like 2 games in hand or 1 game in hand against some of the other teams. So, you feel good. It's just, a good start to the season. You just wonder how you'll get through like kind of the dog days of the season, right? That middle part, see how they do before then and some of the other things that we're concerned about. See what new faces they might see. So we'll figure it out. You just mentioned it, but I've lost it. Here we go. Saturday, April 25th, against FC Dallas at lovely Lumen Field. Interesting opponent. Sounders have laid out the graphic already, so you hope it doesn't get, come back to bite them in the ass, but we'll
They're
see.
sounding the alarms.
And then after that, I'm sure we'll, at least if not all of us, we'll get Mike and I again to do this. Weird start time for that match on May 2nd at Sporting PC of 11:30 a.m.
I love that time. Honestly, I can watch my English Premier League and then go right into the Sounders. Like, it's great.
I'm not gonna start with that. It just looks so out of place because you're looking at the fixtures. I see 7:30, 11:30, 11:30 a.m., 7:30, 6:30, 7:30. Like what?
Back to normal.
Whatever. So, yeah, until we see you next time, take care of yourselves. Be well. Do whatever you can to make today a great day.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey. So where are you going to watch all of the Sounder away games this year?
Away games for the Sounders. Since Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that's a great idea. Go Sounders. Hope we see you all here.